I'm a first-year HVAC tech, just trying to stay afloat while my life's a wreck. I stay out drinking until 3, the job starts at 7, whoa, the misery. Y'all, the other guys make fun because I don't know anything. Well, they're gonna see one day I'll run the entire company. I'm a 5-year HVAC tech, Nate certified on heat pumps, and my life's still a wreck. There's a helper in my van. Was I as bad as this guy? No way, man. He's either texting or asleep. Must have stayed up playing Fortnite. He reminds me of me. I'm gonna run this whole company someday. I'll be rich, you see. But the years roll slowly by. The brown hairs turn to gray. My dreams, they melt away, and they change. I'm sitting here right now. I don't own anything, but I own my name. I'm a 30-year HVAC tech, got 5 grandkids now, and I expect a 6th. That happened, and I thought you were going places. Been married 20 years, and she knows I'm heading home when the last call clears. Thought you said a woman would weigh you down. I wouldn't change anything. A dream is just a dream, and it don't mean anything. God and family is my dream. I wouldn't change anything. You know, a dream is just a dream, and it doesn't mean anything. One day a man must grow up. My name is Zach Ciota, and this is the HVAC Fake News. A trade-wide public service announcement has been issued so that all of you out there, and you know who you are, who pick your boogers while driving your work van and wipe it underneath the driver's seat, will please stop doing so. And again, try not to pretend like we don't know who you are. Since mini-split systems are more and more prevalent as time goes by, more and more companies are specializing in particular mini-split brands. The problem is the techs become confused when they transfer back to regular unitary brands. In fact, techs have spoken up saying, how are we supposed to install these unitary brands when there's no smiley sunshine in the manual, no 15-minute vacuum guide, and no snowflake symbol to let us know when the unit is in cool? Joe Shearer, a famous YouTuber, company owner, and Floridian, was on the show last week. He told us about the fabled fiberglass tree that is used to make ductboard. Knowing this was a lie, we went about our lives, but realized, what if there is a fiberglass tree? So we did some research here at HVAC Shop Talk. We found out that there is a fiberglass tree. One man reported from South America, Colombia to be exact, that he went deep into the jungle to find the tree, located it, came back out alive. Upon questioning the man, we realized there might not be a fiberglass tree because he had quite a bit of cocaine in his system. Speaking of ductboard, we know that many of you rail against ductboard and make fun of it, myself included. But if you think about it, it's the only system available that you can install with Gorilla Tape and kitchen utensils. Many HVAC technicians have found that their long hours and strenuous careers are trouble for marriage. So we did some psychological research to find the best way to deal with a married life while integrating your HVAC life. We looked at things you can do for your wife, gifts you can get her, smiles you can make, and happy times you can have. But in conclusion, we found the best way is to never marry a wife. Last but not least, I would like to say a little something about Goodman. I'd be remiss if I left Goodman out of any HVAC fake news broadcast. And I do want to say something positive about the brand because so many times I say something negative. And I'm afraid they might sue for some reason, even though this says fake news. So let me say something positive. Goodman has been awarded for being the lightest units ever when compared to all other brands. Goodman says it's mainly due to their design and engineering, but I suspect it's probably due to the fact there's no refrigerant in any of them. My name is Axiota. That was fake news. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Air Conditioners with Zach on Saturday night. Don't you have anything better to do? But please don't leave. Please stay. Hope everybody is doing well tonight. I put up a poll before this whole soiree got started, and it says, how many sick days have you taken this year? Now, I'm talking about this like 2023, not like in the last year, but that wasn't very clear like most of my polls. So with 0, there's 48%. So you guys are good workers. 1 to 3 is 30%. 4 to 6 is 9%, but it jumps back up to 14% for 7 plus. 7 plus is a lot of days, guys. That's a lot of days so far this year. Maybe there's like a COVID incident or something like that. I got to assume there was a COVID incident or something along those lines. And I hope all of you are doing well now. I'll just say that. Dustin Weber says, that was a good Goodman joke. You bet your pants, my friend. I make fun of Goodman on every show, and I try to stay just below the line of where they're going to become legally angry at me. I try to stay just right below that line. But since Goodman's legal department is so busy, I'm not really worried about it. So let's say hello to our chatting friends over here. Let me see if I can turn on the screen chat there for you YouTubers. Let's see here. We have Hoser. Hoser has returned from Canada. Must be the end of winter. The road's all thawed out so he can drive back to his computer. We got Ken HVAC. Everything HVAC Aura. We have KW Carver, and hopefully his entire crew is watching. We have Ken HVAC. Jeff Kuiper. Brent Ridley in there with the super chat. I'll be daggone Brent. What a great guy. There's a great guy right there, Brent. He's in love with Milwaukee, but we still like him. I thought I had a Milwaukee tool, but all the red ones are Bauer. Sorry. I thought one of them was Milwaukee. My mistake. And let's see what anybody else. Frylock has returned from, I don't know where he was. Working hard, I guess. Frylock has returned. Of course, Steven's in the chat. Steven's also going to be on the show. We have Nicholas Mumby. We have HVAC. That's his name. We have Anti-DIY. Ted is in the chat here. Susie, Dustin, Joshua Seaton. Joshua, I got your email, man. Just haven't sent an email back. It's been pretty busy here. I've been hustling today to put all the different pieces of this show together, and I'm excited to see which one's going to fail live in real time. I know one of them's going to fail. I just don't know which one yet. We've got HVAC Overtime says harmonies. You better believe it, bud. I go in there on the Traction software and I put harmonies on my songs. Those are real songs from yours truly. Those are original songs. That's right. And one of the other ones has sold 1.4 dozen copies. No, I'm just kidding. East Coast is here complaining about something. It's hard to discern. He mumbles worse than Biden. I'm just kidding, guys. I love that Biden. No, I do not. So before we get started with Steven tonight, we have just a couple. We have, shop talk, housekeeping. These papers have nothing on them, by the way. So Steven Reardon is going to be here. You guys know Steven. You love Steven. Some of you younger guys may or may not be familiar with his content because he's been more sporadic over the last few years because he now owns his own business. And all the business owners know that when you own your own business, the extracurricular things like YouTube tend to wither away a little bit, except for Ted. Ted still finds a way to run a business and do all these YouTube videos. I don't know. He's just special. Ted's just special. Steven's been on YouTube for a long, long time. He kind of rose, we'll say rose to fame. We're going to say rose to fame in the iManifold era for being on board with the iManifold technology first day, I think, first day pretty much, and has gotten the reputation, at least with me, for loving technology, embracing technology, embrace the technology, a tainted phrase now, but yes, he embraces the technology. He always goes with, I'll say, higher end, the newer stuff, and learns how to actually use it, which is important because a lot of people, we have newer tools and nice tools, but don't know how to use them. So he actually learns how to use them, which is really, really nice. Thus, he has returned to this show after 2 years, evidently, almost on the day, which was pretty interesting. I'm going to end our poll here. 50 votes. Thank you guys for voting on the poll. Looks like half of you try to work for a living, and some of you just kind of just skate on by. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I'm just kidding with you. I'm just kidding with you guys. Just take it easy. All right. I think one thing before we get started, I had one comment that I was going to highlight. This is our comment for today. I'm going to get rid of this chat on the screen here. Bloop. I thought this was interesting, and it says in the very beginning, I have to ask, and I mean no hate, which is usually a trigger for YouTubers. It's like, all right, what's this going to be about? This is a good comment, though. I have to ask, and I mean no hate, by the way, but why would you care to walk more than 10 feet away talking about smart probes? He's like, I made a video about how far they reach and compared Testo and UEI and Field Piece. And this guy's like, why you even have to go 10 feet away? He's just kind of curious what the answer is. All right, here's my answer to this question, at least for myself. You guys can answer too. Whenever I use smart probes, I would typically have, the ones you have on the outside for pressure and line temperature, but I'd always have interior probes, return and supply. And to get linked up with all of them sometimes was a chore, depending on what type of house it was. Sometimes you could sit out at the condenser and you had no problems, but sometimes you got to find an intermediate area and you might want to walk around a little bit. And sometimes you lose connection to the interior ones. That was a big issue. That's why I think it's important for the range. That's just like Frylock says, because commercial. And that's not even my answer wasn't even getting into commercial about just, working different floors away from the equipment. But mine was more just the practicality of having all the different probes everywhere. You kind of want them to have a good connection distance because what they say, like in this video that I put out, I walked like 400 feet with the Field Piece probes. Yeah, that was in a perfect environment too. Everybody knows. Heck, the Testo probes went past second base because this was on a ball field where I did this. The Testo probes went past second base. And as we all know, Testo probes lose connection if you look at them funny. So it's important to know. And Testo probes are all right, but they just don't go as far. The second generation, good. The first generation, yikes. Not far at all. Not far at all. So Frylock says, dude never had to adjust TXV at a stadium. Well, that is a pretty small percentage, Frylock. Of all the guys here, how many of you have adjusted a TXV at a stadium? That's very specific. But you're right. He wouldn't be wanting to use Testo Generation 1 on a TXV at the stadium. He sure wouldn't. So I thought I'd put that question out there, guys. And let's see here. Future guests on the show, because I asked you guys, again, papers full of nothing. I asked you guys, who would you like to have on the show? Now, we have Steven this week. So all the Steven lovers are appeased. But in the future, you guys asked for a few other people. Now, I've reached out to several of these people to no avail. So if you want someone to come on this show, I suggest that you all just lean on him through his comments. And not in a way that makes you negative. Just say, you want to be on the show? We'd like to hear more about you. That's it. I'm just kidding. It'll be all right. But I put out messages to HVAC Guy. You guys requested that. I had to reach out to Mikey Pipes. You guys wanted Mikey Pipes on the show. That ought to be interesting. We go over some Bible verses. And I think there's another guy. I can't remember the other guy now. Well, there's another guy or two guys. Jim Bergman, you said, but Jim Bergman will come on. He's been on before. So I know he'll come on here. And we have an email sign up now. It's going to work. It'll work. So that's in the description of the video or podcast, depending on what you... We want John HVAC. Okay, well, no one's asked for that yet, since he doesn't make hardly any videos. That's pretty interesting. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to bring Steven in here. We're going to talk to Steven. We're going to find out what he's all about, guys. We're going to find out what makes him tick. Yep, Mikey Pipes is moving up quick. All right, guys, I'll be back in just a minute or so, with Steven Reardon. Beckett is someone you can trust for condensate removal products. If you need something for everyday jobs, maybe you can choose the BK17 condensate removal pump with safety switch, but maybe you need something a little different. Maybe you like to install those mini splits. You know you guys love them. Well, they have mini split pumps as well. They carry low profile condensate pumps when you just don't have the height room for a larger pump. And when you think you're hot stuff, so to speak, or at least your condensate is, they have pumps for that as well. Find out more at BeckettUS.com. Field Pulse is the #1 FSM platform for its ease of use, ease of setup, and quality of support. And what's more, they have a brand new promotion. Anybody who signs up by April 30th gets 3 months for free. Make sure when you take advantage of this particular program, you go to our link and use it. So go to the description and use it. That way the Field Pulse guys know it came from this channel. And anytime you guys want to check out any of the sponsors, you can go to the description of this video to find out more. Podcast guys, same thing. Go to the description, find out more, support this channel by supporting our sponsors. Yellow Jacket is one of the most trusted names for HVAC tools, but they have a lot of new stuff that's just hit the market. A brand new combustion analyzer, the CA502, is a 3-in-1 instrument, ambient CO monitor, manometer, and analyzer. They also have the Turbo recovery machine. It's A2L compatible, guys, so you don't have to worry about that. It utilizes a powerful twin-cylinder oilless compressor and a 1 1/4 horsepower brushless DC motor. And it comes from Yellow Jacket, so you know you can trust it. Alrighty, guys. So I got your suggestions there. Thank you very much. If you email them to me, I'd be happy to remember them, first of all. If there's a whole bunch of them in the chat, I may not get them all. But you can email me. All right, so I'd like to introduce Steven Reardon. Rardon. Here he is. Here's Steven. Hello, Steven.
Hello, Zach. How are you?
I'm good. Hello, Steven. Hope you're well as well. I know you are. We already talked, so you're fine.
No, this is the first time we've met each other since 2 years ago.
Yeah, actually, I sound the same after 5 years, so that's good. Tell everybody how you're doing out there, because I know the content's more sporadic. I kind of explain why a little bit, or my explanation anyway. So just tell everybody kind of in general how you doing.
I've been doing really well. It's not without stress and headaches, but I'm doing what I want to do when it comes to HVAC. So the business has been exactly what I wanted, I guess, in most of the ways.
Okay, what did you want when you set out?
Wanted to do what I thought was best for the customer, to deliver the service that I felt was necessary, to do the job in a way that I wasn't afraid to go back. One of the things that I tell customers specifically is that when I was working for other people, there were many instances I was actually expected to don't say anything about that. Just, fluff that over and move on to the next one. And, since I'm deciding what's policy, I get to say, we give them everything, good, bad, or indifferent. If I screwed it up, I'll claim it, I'll eat it, but I'm not going to, fluff over this situation that affects your performance, longevity, efficiency. We're going to talk about it because it's important for your system.
Can I interject for one moment? Because I was, this is my show, Steven. This is a formality of me saying that. I'm just going to keep talking. But I was thinking about something earlier, and you just kind of went right into it right there. And I was thinking in my head, because I had this whole video the other day, how I hated sales. And I kind of explained one part of sales that made my skin crawl. And you say you set out because you wanted to make the customer satisfied. And when there was an issue, you wanted to man up and take care of it. And I think that's a good thing. And here's my thought on this. To be a good service company in just a service industry kind of way, service company, you have to be willing to fail to take care of the customer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that encapsulate what you are doing? And I don't intend anybody to fail. I'm just saying, people have crisis of conscience there. If I tell someone I did this wrong, we're going to lose money. I already don't have any money. We're going to have an issue. So you have a conflict right there. Are you the type to say, well, we're going to do it anyway?
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's real tough.
If I've screwed it up, I mean, I've had 2 instances where we had float switch problems on either major repairs or after an installation, and we've caved in 2 ceilings, and that sucks. Like,
that does suck.
You take what was a profitable job and you just completely erase it. You'd be better off having said, no, I hate you. I don't want to do any work for you at all.
Or just never show up again, never answer the phone again, because that's what happens, right? That's what the industry not is known for, but like the cautionary tales, they line up around. He doesn't answer his phone anymore.
Yep.
And I'm glad that's an extreme difference there. The guy who just runs his company to the ground to serve the customer, and the guy who just never answers the phone.
Yep.
But it's hard to make that decision. And I do think that you're one of the guys who would do it. That's why I entered the conversation.
There's been times that I've wanted to do not necessarily charity jobs, but work for people that needed it, that couldn't afford us, where we haven't, because we don't have the revenue surplus, I guess. But if I've made a call and it ends up being right, wrong, or the bad call, I stand behind my decision and I'll make it right, whether it's, losing money or putting egg on my face.
Have you had any issues in particular that were stand out in this area that you had to do something like that, or just run of the mill?
I put in a compressor once that wasn't necessary until I found out.
Misdiagnosed?
Yep.
Okay. I don't think, you're smiling, but I think everybody in here has probably done that. They just might not say it. Yep. Something along those lines, but okay.
That is the one that probably was the most embarrassing, most painful, because it literally took me hours of a day, probably 6 hours or so, to get this compressor. It was on a rooftop.
Oh my gosh.
And I got the new compressor in there. I was proud of myself because, hey, I got it finished. Turned the power on and it sounds like it's running backwards, just like the old one. I was like, why am I doing this? And it turned out to be the contactor had a lost leg, and I completely missed it.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's good of you. I've been, honestly, I've been in situations like that in the past, and I have not done the right thing. Honestly speaking, there's no point in running and hiding. But that's good. I think, and I admire that. That's really, really good that you did that, because sometimes that can cost you more than you think you can bear when you do something like that. So that's good. But that's enough heavy philosophical HVAC. Not that there ever was any like that, but you were telling me about the company, what you've been up to. Were you done with that, or did you have more to say?
I was just starting off.
All right, keep on going, man. Tell us more about your company, man. It's been like
2 years.
X amount of years.
Yeah. There for a minute, we were up to, we had 6 people in the company. One of them was an unpaid bookkeeper's position filled by my father. And I had 3 trucks with the wrap on it anyway, and had a junior technician. My wife was hired to fill the office position. And then I had a senior service tech and a junior service tech that were managing the maintenances and service calls while I did primarily installs, anything that wasn't maintenance or service with my apprentice. The junior tech, I'm not 100% sure why he had decided to leave, but he left early summertime, I think. And then we made it through the summer, did pretty well. And my senior service tech had got an amazing job offer, and I gave him my blessing to go give it a shot. So it was down to me, my junior apprentice, and then the wife in the office. So the end of summer was kind of a weird mind space for me, because I felt like I had developed something and then felt like the wind came out of the balloon. But when we made it through 2022 and looked at the revenue year over year, and then compared January's revenue to January 22, we had the best, if not, well, it was the best January we'd ever had with revenue numbers. So that helped reinvigorate me to continue. Put the wind back in my balloon, so to speak.
January is not a real good month or never has been down here. We're a little bit closer to the coast. For those of you who know, Steven's hour and a half away from where I'm at, but the coast can be vastly different climate than the Raleigh area. So January is typically what for you guys? Good, bad, whatever?
I always anticipate it being pretty blasé, because it's after Christmas, after all the holiday stuff where people spend money frivolously. But my dad was my bookkeeper, and he passed a year and a half ago, December 16th. And so he was my rock in being able to manage numbers, because that was his shtick. I do air conditioners. He did math. But we never got around to actually comparing year over year to kind of figure what a budget basis should be for the different months of the year. And I haven't bothered to pull those numbers for this broadcast, but I know that it
why
was
would you? I mean, why would you?
Best January we'd seen, with no question. That was easy enough to look back, and I couldn't give you the numbers specifically, but I think we did a good 50% higher than we had ever done in a good month prior, the same January.
Okay. That's impressive. Since your dad was the bookkeeper, since his passing, who does the books?
My wife and I struggle over that, and we have got a phenomenal CPA that we coordinate with. I literally went to her while my dad was in the hospital, and I said, I have no idea what I'm looking at here. Help me. And she's taken it from there. I said, if you can tell me what I need to pay for here, I'll give you the money to pay for it. but I have no idea to figure out how to do this. And so she's been a lifesaver.
Did you know her before
No.
your dad became sick? Okay, so that was a brand new experience with her.
Well, they had been running our taxes, but they had not been in that deep, for payroll tax or sales and use tax. She had never had to do that because Dad did that. And when I was talking to her, because she emailed me and said, "Hey, these taxes are due, just so you know," and I'm like, "I don't know what the hell you're talking about." I said, "Here's my account number. Can you pay them for me? Because my dad's not so good right now." She said, "Okay." So that was a lifesaver.
That's great that you found somebody that was easy to work with, especially at that time.
Yeah.
Because you must have been in a, I don't know. I didn't run my business. My sister passed a couple years ago, or a year and a half ago in September, and I wasn't running the business at the time. But I mean, I took that poorly. I took it real poorly, combined with some other stuff. And I don't know what it would be like to run a business during one of those things.
Yeah.
One of those times. Because you referred to him as a rock. How did you get through that time period? Or do you have any, I don't know, because everybody goes through something like this in their life.
Yeah.
Share how you got through it. Let's keep it simple. How did you get through it? What made it possible?
Well, the two guys that I had lost the following year and my wife were what held me through. On December 2nd, I think we got the call that Dad was going into the hospital and going on a ventilator because of COVID. When I got that call, I was in the middle of a 2-system maintenance for heating. At first, I said, "Okay, not a big deal. I can finish this." And I got through the first system and I was like, I don't care anything about this. This is not important right now.
Right.
But I didn't want to leave half a maintenance done and have to get somebody else to come finish it. So I went to the customer and I said, "Hey, I just got a phone call. My dad's, going to the hospital, and I'm going to finish your other system maintenance so that it's done and we can get you off the books. But if you don't mind, when I finish the maintenance, I'm just going to run because my head's not in this right now." We literally left like within an hour and a half, I think, of when I finished that maintenance and drove up to Ohio. And then we spent quite literally the next 5 weeks in Ohio, completely unannounced or planned. My dad went into the hospital on the 2nd, and by the 16th, he had passed away. And for most of that time, I couldn't care less about what was happening with the business. Just perfectly honest. My wife would come to me and be like, "What do you want to do with this?" And I said, "I don't care. Let it burn."
Yeah, my sister was COVID too. I went to the hospital to visit her. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It was a misery, which I'm not going to explore any further from my end on this show because I don't think I want to do that tonight.
Yep.
To be honest with you, but I know what you're saying. You get to the point where even though it's your business, it's your baby, so to speak. You're in that situation, those parts of life where it's irrelevant what happens to it in that part of life.
Yep.
But it's almost like as you get older, you're better able to say, "I don't care about this at all right now, but I know in the future I will."
Yeah.
So you have to get through it, even though at that point you don't see an outlet. So your wife, got you through it. That's good. And when did you feel like, because you said 5 weeks, is that 5 weeks without any revenue, or there were guys back home still working on your
Um,
end?
well, that was in the middle of the flex shortage.
Oh yeah.
And
Buy
they
some
were
time.
running some service and maintenance stuff. And we had 2 duct jobs that we were supposed to get done during that time frame. And I found, and you might remember that the North Carolina Code Department said that we could use 4.2 flex
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
a period. So I grabbed a bunch of 4.2 flex from Ohio, and
Yeah.
we actually drove down
Oh wow.
for one night and dropped off a car full of flex. We didn't intend it to be one night, but we drove down one day, got down to North Carolina that evening, had dinner with my lead service tech installer slash everything. Talked about the work. We were going to go in and start it the next day, and we got a call that my dad had turned to the worse. So we literally got up that morning, turned around, and went straight back to Ohio.
Yeah.
So at that point, we had dropped off the flex duct, and they were able to at least do this one job. But we actually ended up postponing one of the jobs, I think, if I'm remembering, not misremembering, because we simply couldn't get the sizes of flex that we needed in the quantities we needed at that point.
Right.
But it ended up being 5 weeks, mainly because Dad went in the hospital. He yo-yoed for several weeks. And then after he passed, I couldn't leave with my mom being in the situation she was.
Right.
So we ended up staying until January 8th when they had the funeral, because we couldn't do it. I mean, he passed on the 16th of December, coming up on Christmas and then New Year's. You don't have time for a funeral. So we just hung out and helped Mom deal with the trauma until after the New Year. And then once the viewing and funeral was over, we literally left the next day and came back.
Wow.
It was a wild end of 2021. Yeah.
2021. So it's been a year and a half or so now.
Yep.
So the business rebounded. You kept going. You did good.
Yeah.
And you said, we'll go back to, you said you hired your wife. I
Mm-hmm.
thought I heard that clearly. I don't know that I'd ever do that for an HVAC business. It's tough. I watched my mom and dad. My dad ran the business from 80, whatever it was, 87 until present, still running it. My mom actually worked with him in the field. I was there for a while working with him in the field too. And it was taxing, not metaphorically taxing, I guess. But she's office and you're out in the field, so that's a little bit of separation right there. Are you the types that would function in the same environment like that? Are you built for that? Is she watching you right now? Do you have to say something in particular? I'm just kidding. You have earbuds. She can't hear, right?
Right.
No, I mean,
actually,
it's life, right? So I mean,
yeah,
you don't always belong right next to each other all day.
we actually
It's
did
still
a
love.
installation job Thursday, was it? We did an installation on Thursday together because my junior tech apprentice has been on vacation. And we had this guy that needed some new equipment. And I was like, if nothing else, I'll do it by myself. She said, I'll help. So we did a coil and condenser swap on 2 systems on Thursday for 10.5 hours. Got it knocked out.
Wow. That's pretty good. I'm not going to ask you any follow-up questions because you won't be able to be honest with me. I'm just kidding. No, I think that's great. No, it's great that she did that. I mean, my wife's not like a I'm going to come down here and use your power tools sort of wife. Is
Right.
your wife adept at doing some of that stuff like that?
Not really. She's amazing with Pookie. Um, but
Yeah.
um, she has not had the hands-on with shooting screws quite as. Uh, it's because I won't let her. That's why.
Oh yeah, I've heard that same thing from my wife. I got to the point, we'll be married 20 years in next month actually. And for a long time, I was like, I don't want you. 'Cause she'd be like, oh, I can use these tools. And I look at my saws and I'd imagine all of her fingers flying off. It's like, nah. But after 20 years, she asked me, I'm like, go get the saw and just cut whatever you want.
Right.
Just do whatever. And she hasn't done one board, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
I just wanted to be able to try, I guess.
Yeah.
That's good. That's really good. So what is her official position? Utility worker? I mean, what's her position?
She's my office manager.
Who does she manage at the office?
All of the customers.
All the customers. Okay. But is she the only actual personnel in the office? She has to deal with all the customers. Like, does she route them to you when they call in for service?
No, she's really good with customers. She did 11 years as a secretary for 6 lawyers before she came here. So she took a major pay cut. But the stress level went from Mount Everest to the bottom of the ocean, comparative to what she was dealing with.
Wow.
And I'm not a raging asshole like a lot of her.
Hey, there was an unsolicited description of lawyers.
But no, she does an amazing job handling the customers. She's caught up with things that I didn't even know existed, like mapping and routing and things to manage where you put people on the schedule. Quite literally, I'll drive from Wake Forest to Zebulon or farther than that. Let's say Sanford, Wake Forest to Sanford, to get 2 calls out of the way just because that's the day I'm trying to schedule. So I'm like, yeah, you're in Wake Forest. I'll go there at 8 a.m. and then I'll be in Sanford at 2 p.m.
Well, I mean, not everybody here knows where all the different places are.
That's
but
probably
those places are far
half,
apart.
2 hours apart. Yeah.
Going to Sanford, which is our way to go, the back way to Greensboro is what we call it, and going to the other, what would you say, Wake Forest?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big old. Is your area that big? I mean, do you have customers in those 2 places?
I do.
That is big. That is real big. Is that on purpose? I mean, is that something where like I wanted customers, now I have them, and as time goes by, it's like I wish they weren't so far away, or what?
Maybe a little. But the reality is, I fill a certain need for people.
And you want to define that, because individuals, I'm not looking at the chat right now, but I can only assume what they'll start writing.
Right.
You already said you were a fluffer. You said you were a fluffer earlier, so I'm just trying to help you.
There's different grades of HVAC contractors. Some can work on anything and specialize in nothing. But I aimed to specialize in high performance, high quality, not budget pricing. And if people are willing to pay my price tag, I kind of feel like I need to go where they're willing to pay. Now, that doesn't mean that I cover all the way to Sanford or say Hillsboro for the same price that I would cover, Central Raleigh necessarily. Depends on where you are. But we also don't tend to be competitive in the dollars and cents for the services that we offer. If you look at what level of quality we try to offer, we offer a premium product at a fairly premium price, not a $27 tune-up, not a $49 tune-up, not a $79 tune-up. Our one-time tune-up is 50% of a yearly maintenance agreement, which just happens to be $200 right now.
That's the full price or your half price?
That's half price
Okay.
of a maintenance agreement. So our one-time tune-up is $200.
Oh, okay. Let me interject something then. We all know the coupon guys. Take this coupon, $49. We're going to check all 7 parts of your air conditioner. You're like, what now? Okay. So you say $200. Why is the same job, quote unquote, worth $200? What's different about what you do?
When we go into a system, we go top to bottom. We go full static, full airflow, full refrigerant charge, gas furnaces. We do combustion analysis, and we deliver the full the full measure quick report. For our tune-up. We do a tear down cleaning on your condenser and all the other basics for a maintenance, like checking the drain, flushing, things like that. But when we're done, I've been there for an hour and a half, typically on a single system. Realistically, the measure quick report probably takes me 20 minutes, and then the rest is cleaning. Like my absolutely horrible proper way to clean a train condenser coil video way back in the day. Full teardown. All the sides, the fan comes off. The inside of the unit looks like you could make spaghetti for your 3-year-old in there.
Yeah.
It's clean.
Yeah, that could be a pain, because all those doors that have those little clips at the bottom, and sometimes the clips are a pain in the butt or whatever. And then, well, that or the Goodman Bloomin' Onion. I took the top off, and now it won't go back on. Go get the duct tape. Well, is that every? Okay, so I'm going to assume, because you live in an environment where you might have a fuel burning heating appliance and less likely the heat pump. So I'm assuming the tear down. Is that every spring you're tearing the condensers apart, no matter what, or is that a judgment call?
It is somewhat a judgment call, but the first time we go to a system, it's a teardown. Yeah.
Well, I've heard a lot of people say, and there's truth to it, I know, that when you look at the things, just because you don't see them all gunked up doesn't mean they're not dirty. Yep. So that gives credence to the I'm going to tear it down every time argument.
This
I don't
spring,
think we have to.
We've got a 5-system house that we've got on contract, and 4 of the 5 systems are entirely protected from dust, dirt, and whatnot. And I probably pulled out 24 leaves and a few sticks of pine straw from any of the 4 systems.
Amazing.
So that's definitely a judgment call. Half the reason you clean out the middle of it is because you simply don't want to take a picture of the inside, show 5 leaves, and then take another picture and still have 5 leaves. You clean it out just for the fact that we do before and after picture of pretty much anything that we've cleaned. If we flush the drain, we take 2 pictures before and after. We clean the condenser before and after. Screenshots of the TechLink app for capacitors go into the company cam file, and a full measure quick report.
TechLink app, is that Supco?
Yeah, that's the Redfish Supco.
Okay. So you still use the Redfish meter?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got the field piece, the SC 680, I think it was.
Yeah, the Philippines fish bat. That's right.
And it's a great meter, but it doesn't tie into TechLink. So I overcome the massive set of amp clamp jaws that are on the redfish. And use that, because otherwise, there's nothing wrong with taking a picture of your voltmeter showing microfarad, right? But the visual of the range on TechLink is extremely helpful for the customer to realize. You see this range, it's 4.5 on the minimum, and we are at 3.75. We are weak, and this capacitor could cause a problem. We should change it.
No, that's
Otherwise, you're just saying it's a 5 and it shouldn't be less than 4.5.
Yeah. Is that the only thing that you get off the TechLink app? Is that particular feature, or are there other features you use?
I've used it just to keep an eye on a amp reading or something while I'm not next to it. The Bluetooth isn't amazing. Actually, the field piece is way better, as we know, for the wireless range.
Yeah.
But it's nice to be able to see a measurement remotely while you're making an adjustment or something. But yeah, the screenshots is almost entirely what we do primarily for the TechLink app.
The field piece, the SC680, it's also a power meter, right?
Yeah.
You can get power factor and stuff. Now, is that something that you do a lot of, is get the, like, you do efficiency or EER, EER1 or whatever it's called? I don't know if there's a second EER now. I just know there's SEER2, but so you do get that information? Because I always thought that was really interesting and actually fun to do.
Yeah.
Although part of me knows that some of it may not be as constructive,
right,
as I would like to think it was. But is that a every maintenance sort of thing as well?
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the Measure Quick report. It populates all of that, and gives you your SEER and EAR estimations. I can't imagine, like, even if I'm just doing a gas and go, I pull out the tablet because I want to see the data. And once you've done it as long as I have with the probes, it takes minutes. It's not a long process at all. I've got a friend that works near here, and he's got a couple of years on me, and he struggles with the whole Measure Quick workflow. And to be honest, I have a hard time understanding why, because for me, it's quite literally second nature.
Okay, let me just ask, who's your stupid friend? Who's your stupid friend? And what's it? I know he's not your stupid friend. I'm just saying.
No, he's actually incredibly intelligent and very talented, but he struggles with the Measure Quicks.
Isn't that odd? You can have multiple people that have very high intelligence. Doesn't mean they do the same things well, obviously. And they'll struggle with what you think is this minute task, and then they'll do something. It's like, I don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
But very interesting. You're both in the same trade, though, so it's kind of a interesting irony. When you get the tablet out for the gas and go, what probes are you using for that? Do you just have field piece probes you use for everything?
Yeah, I've got I own Harbor Freight tools.
Hey, way to go, man! I got some too, like 1,000.
Apache 8200 or something.
Oh yeah,
it's like the Pelican case. I've got it cut out for all the different probes, and that box comes out every time I go to hook up probes. Now, I probably am not going to launch static on a gas and go, but by the time I've got my pressures and condenser information, I might as well throw the air probes up and get a record of the system's overall basic performance.
That's what I'm saying. I tell you what, I love, speaking of Apache, these are pretty good cases. Right
They
here.
are.
I have, this is like the camera version of them. I don't know what number this is. 1800. They're really great.
Yeah.
It's a really, really good deal. If you don't like anything else at the store, that's pretty good. I like getting the air probes out because there's so much that the air going in and out will tell you, and it doesn't always have to agree with what you think is going on from outside. And plus, I mean, early in the show, you saw the comment probably, I don't know if you were watching that part of it, where the guy was asking why you needed 10 foot or more of distance. And I was like, man, it's hard. You know, the larger houses, you want to put air probes on something, and you have, maybe you have a repeater. Not all these different sets have repeaters, so some of them do, some of them don't. But I would have trouble reaching everything. I don't know about you, but with the field piece is probably the best of the group besides iManifold.
Well, Zach, you don't have to go to a register. On your gas pack, you can just drill a hole in the side of the hood and stick your temperatures right there.
Side? You mean the top? Oh yeah, yeah. That's true. But you do raise an interesting point. A lot of times you can find, if depending on how the system is run, like in the attic, you probably want to limit how far you go from the machine itself. If you have a like air handler or furnace and coil, but in the crawl space, I mean, that's not quite as big a concern because the temperature difference is lower, the latent humidity difference is higher, but it's a little bit easier to do. But some of these houses are pretty big, and sometimes the condenser's on one end because someone wants their condenser with a little brick wall around it with little holes in it so they can hide it, so people don't believe they have air conditioners, I guess. And then everything else is on the, or at least some of the systems are from the opposite end. So it comes in handy, I think. I know you agree.
Yeah.
Because that's an easy one. I mean, that's just, to me, it's common sense. If you want the other probes, if you're not using the other probes, then I see. But why don't you have other probes?
About years ago when I was working for a big national brand, and I would actually record the temperature of the outlet of the air conditioner, the air handler, as close to the evaporator coil as possible so that it would give me a 20-degree delta.
Was that on purpose? Did you purpose?
Yeah. I didn't know any better. I mean, at the time, I honestly thought that a 20-degree delta was perfect performance.
Sometimes it is. Yeah.
Right. And if I didn't get a 20-degree delta, I would move my probe around to different holes until I got a better temperature split.
Fixed.
And, you know, it's one of those things that ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, you're right about that. Ignorance definitely is bliss, because if you have the knowledge to know that first you can't put it right there at the coil or whatever, and then you're compelled to actually work harder. Yeah. Hopefully you're compelled to work harder, or you're going to feel bad about yourself all the time. So that's the alternative. But
I tried that once with the probes. I had drilled a hole in the plenum right above the evaporator, and I couldn't figure out why my delta T was so horrible. And I went round and round thinking about it. And then I realized that I had drilled my hole very close to the top of the blank at the top of the A coil. And the probe was almost laying in that channel where the coil pieces come together. And there was no air right there.
That's funny. That was close too. That was close. Close, but no cigar.
But I took my probe to a register nearby, like the closest indoor register. Everything was good. I was like, wow. Amazing.
I fixed it.
Right?
I fixed it.
Was it you that was talking about? Somebody I was talking to recently was like, we give up on diagnosis once we get the measurement that we expected to get.
It wasn't me. I mean, but I understand.
Somebody.
Because, you can alter. For example, you talk about multiple issues at once. You have a system that's low in charge where the delta gets smaller because of the charge deficiency. But then you also have a deficiency of airflow, which will actually sort of push it farther apart again. So you measure the airflow. It's like, hey man, the target's 17. We're 15.5. According to this chart, we're close enough. You're good to go. And that's when you go to the next home inspection job that you have, I guess is what that is. But yeah, it's there can be 2 things wrong. There can be 4 things wrong, I guess, depending on what unit it is. But you kind of have to. All right, here's a question for you. You in the summertime, about 500 people have called you to go to their house. First 95-degree day. You know you're going to have about 300 run capacitors to change. Change your run capacitor. What all are you doing at that call before you leave? Making the invoice, right? And that's it.
Right. No, I'm always a little bit afraid that if I don't check the other capacitor, it'll take a dump the next day. And if I don't at least get pressure, superheat, and subcool, I will be leaving a problem that could have been resolved. We don't get slammed partially because we don't have the visibility, I guess, despite our strong referral network and whatnot. But we don't get a lot of demand service unless it's a very strong referral from somebody that's already spent all their money with somebody that didn't know what they were doing. And now I have to figure out how to make it work for free.
Oh man.
But
well, it's good. Well, eventually you will be slammed, and I'm sure you've had days when you were what you would call slammed.
Yep.
And no, that's a
the worst is when you fill it up with maintenance and then 3-4 people call and you're like, I'm booked.
I'm booked with these maintenances, but it's 99 degrees outside.
Yep.
Well, we're doing maintenance today. Sorry.
I had one day even already. We had 2 different people call in with 2 different concerns, and they were in such locations that it made more sense to push our first appointment back than to try to get to our first appointment and come back to these other people. And I think I didn't get to my 8 o'clock until 10:30 or something.
That doesn't sound too nightmarish to me.
No, it wasn't bad. But I went into this one service call with the solution already figured out, and I was wrong.
Well, I've been there myself. If someone tells me what's wrong, I'm thinking about what it could be. I'm planning my mode of attack, and you're right. It's tunnel vision, but I mean, to me, it's natural.
Yeah.
It's like my unit's going, brr, let me go get the 35.5. I'm waiting for you,
Right.
And sometimes it's not that. Sometimes it's something else.
It's a burnt wire.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, yeah. The start wire burned off of the run cap. The run cap's fine. Yeah. The run cap's never fine. I'm just kidding.
No.
The wire's burned off the compressor.
I was bound and determined that it was a tripped float switch. It ended up being a contactor tripping the low voltage fuse.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Contactors are bad. So it was tripping a fuse going offline. So it wasn't a one-time fuse? Most of them one-time fuses. Yeah. Okay.
It was a little E fuse. How many times have you seen that?
Not as common. Contactor's pretty common for shorting things out. Contactor coil. These are new guys. Imagine new guys are out there listening.
Yeah.
A contactor coil, any relay with a coil can short and cause the low voltage fuse to either blow or whatever you got.
I think I actually went back to my memory of one of your videos talking about ohms on a good and bad coil.
Oh, wow. And I just took that from something I learned from a different guy.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It was the 10 ohms thing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
If it's over 20, that's a little much. You don't really see them over 20. That's never really the problem. It's it's below 10.
Yep.
And
it was 0.
Like 5. It was 0. Yeah, that's a dead short. Like you write on the warranty form, dead short or burnt shorted or whatever I remember going in there. It's like, what is a capacitor? Burnt short, right? Burnt short or something like that.
But I had to check the new one just to be sure. I was like, okay, so this one's reading 0. What's the new one reading?
12.
Yeah, we're good. 12 or 13, something like that.
We're golden.
I got the pictures. I can pull them up.
Yeah, next time you can send. In fact, you can send pictures because we have a little segment now where people send their pictures in for what they're working on, which is kind of fun. Man, I feel like we should take a break. Do you want to stay a little bit longer or what?
Sure.
It's okay to say no. Just like the sales guy says, at the end of this, it's okay to say no.
I'm sure you need to throw some ad space up to keep your sponsors happy.
Let's pay the bills. And what I'm going to do here, because I don't think we're going to get to skilled trade up. I don't want anybody to be super heartbroken. But whoever it was, you're not going to win anyway, so it don't matter. I'm just kidding. It'll be hard to win. Let's take a little break. I'm going to play the little sponsor spot and the little picture slideshow deal. It's only about 3 or 4 minute break, but we can all lay back and relax. And maybe if the chat guys are out there, because I haven't looked at the chat here in a little bit, if you have any questions for Steven or me, you can put them in the chat. And we'll see you on the flip side here. EWC Controls, they're known for zoning products, and the heart of a zoning system is the control panel. The UZC zone controller is the tip-top height of this market. It can control 4 stages of heat, 2 stages of cool, has automatic changeover, and what's more, it controls up to 22 zones. This is the Mac Daddy, as my generation said, of zone panels. You can find out more at ewccontrols.com. Our sponsor, NAVAC, has a new promotion called the NAVAC 2023 Gauge Up Promotion. If you purchase one of their qualifying power tools, including the NEF 6LM flaring tool, the NTE 11L expander, or the NTB 7L tubing bender, you can get the N2 A4 manifold for free. Visit navacglobal.com for more information. When it comes time to buy your HVAC tools, most of them are available at truetechtools.com. And if you use our Shop Talk discount code, you can save 8% off your order. And if you don't use our code, you're basically stealing food from my children's mouth. Shop Talk is the discount code. Use it.
You just made the list.
All right. And we're back. Hey, that time just flew. That actually didn't seem very long. I didn't even take any drinks or anything like that while we were doing that. All right. Well, welcome back, Steven. Let's see if there is a question there. Let's see any questions. Someone took credit for their picture. All right. They're asking if you can answer the STU questions. No, but then I have to make new ones for next time. No, we're not doing that. I don't see any questions.
I get
skilled trade up, bro. Skilled trade up. You could win wait a second. I have some pictures. Hold on a second. This is what would have happened if we had time. You could have won anything from Nylog, maybe a shirt, perhaps a flare gauge, or a different shirt, or Oh, a combustion analyzer. That would be the 10th question. We're going to do 10. We were really going to have, we're really going to rock and roll. The first question would have been this: air conditioners make air A, colder, B, smarter, C, get jiggy with it, or D, answer questions. So, I mean, that's the level of skill that you have to have when you come onto this show. All right. So let's see. I'm going to check here for the stuff that we actually said we were going to talk about, see if we actually talked about it. I think we just about did. You mentioned your two guys leaving. Why did the two guys leave the company?
The one guy got a really good offer for employment, making a substantial better level of pay. So I gave him my blessing to give it a shot. And then the other kid, I'm not 100% sure why. I don't know that I got an excuse. He was just looking for something different, I guess.
Do you know if he's still doing the same career type?
Somebody in the chat might know, but I don't know for sure what he's into. As I understand,
is he here?
No, he's not, but I don't think.
That would be unlikely.
Yeah. I think he did move to another HVAC situation, but I don't know.
Okay. There actually is a question. Now that I look back here, R134A says, does Steven have a long-term update on the Bosch inverter systems he installed? We had mentioned that. I was like, are we going to talk about Bosch again? I was like, Bosch, right. Blah, blah, do you have any updates on the Bosch stuff? Bosch bad, Bosch good, Bosch better? What do you say?
It's been sort of a non-issue since we've got our systems dialed in.
Well, how'd you do that? That's news right there. Let's talk about that.
Well,
change them out.
We put, I think I had mentioned in one of our earlier, maybe not last year, but the year prior to that, we put dehumidifiers in with most of the systems that we put Bosch in, or houses we put Bosch in. A couple of other ones we put in reheat thermostats.
Okay.
That use the auxiliary heat to act like a dehumidifier. And then we staged the blower speed. Basically told the air handler that it was a 2-stage unit, even though the Bosch is not.
The first one you're talking about, the first series or the second series?
All of mine were first series.
Okay.
Originally, I've touched 2 second gens since then. One I installed under duress, and the other one I just happened to have a customer that has one. Okay. But staging the air handler on the first gen Bosch to give the blower 2 different speeds actually works pretty well for managing latent capacity, because it keeps that coil as cold as humanly possible. Basically, we ended up running about 150 to 200 CFM per ton for stage 1.
That's 150 to 200. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And then for stage 2, somewhere between 2 and 300 CFM per ton. When I had originally set up the units, I had nailed airflow based on the capacity, like 1200 CFM for 3 tons, or, close without going over. And that turned out to be absolutely the wrong setup, because they sucked, or didn't suck.
Hey, let me ask you something. All right, you start out at 1200, like a normal system would be like, and let's use that term loosely because it varies.
Right.
So 1200 CFM, 400 CFM per ton, but for Bosch you got to lower it down because you're taking that sensible capacity and you're transferring it to latent capacity and trying to find the sweet spot. Now, how difficult was it to try to find a sweet spot when you still have to bring the actual temperature down as well? So you have trouble getting the temperature down
No.
once you changed them? Okay.
No, they've nailed temperature control just fine. Early on in our debacle, I had reached out to Bosch, and they had a field tech rep come out, and we went over this one house, and he said, set your airflow to 200 CFM per ton. And that was at the time pre 2-stage thermostat discussions, pre everything. He said, don't change any of the dip switches, set your airflow to 200 per ton. And I was like, well, that's ridiculous. But I did it because that's what he said needed to be done, despite not agreeing or understanding it.
That's what I'm concerned about, how there's like the treatment for the issue. It's an afterthought is what it is. It's like, well, this thing don't work right, so here's what we have to do to it to try to make it work right. That's what it comes off as. And there's a plethora of advice in the chat about how to do it correctly. I found that once I zoned it and used the EWC board as the brain for the system to limit when it runs as far as staging, it does much better.
Yeah.
But it's almost like this brain outside needs another brain to tell it what to do, is what it seems like to me.
Almost.
Which is bad, because
I'd
that's
just
not what it
rather
is.
put in my Train XVs.
Well, I think, what's funny is that there's a bunch of guys who are coming up with stuff and it all sounds really good. And then Ted pops in there and says, the 2.0 is great when you throw it in a dumpster. I thought that was funny.
That's funny.
But, I have made mine work. But, with every cut of airflow, the capacity is lower and lower. With every minute you make it stay in first stage when it needs second stage. I mean, it's causing, it's long run times. It may be real long, like all day long, that sort of thing. So it's just, I don't know. It's you had to put a dehumidifier, so that's crazy,
Yeah. I recently put in a system called Smart AC. It's a monitoring hardware and software for performance. It was touted really big at the HVAC school symposium that HVAC school does.
That makes sense.
But when I looked at the runtime between my system, which is a XV20, which is variable capacity compressor, variable speed blower.
Train.
For those that don't know train numbers, I have literally 22 to 23 hours of runtime on a variable capacity compressor. I've got my friend that I mentioned earlier has a 24-year-old single stage Goodman. He was showing 7-minute run cycles.
Not good.
And I told him, because he was like, so what do you think I should put in? And I said, I think we should put in a 2-ton XV. He's like, don't you think that being a 3-ton now means I'll be a little shy? I said, no, you got 7-minute run cycles. You'll be fine.
7-minute runs. And okay, again, let's pretend like it's like their first day. 7-minute run cycles is bad. Why? Well, one, it's the steady state of the air conditioner doesn't reach it in 7 minutes.
No.
So it's like it's never reaching the proper point. And you have the Goodman, which is going to be pulling 1 million amps on startup. And it's probably leaking refrigerant anyway, because it's Goodman. So you have all sorts of problems. Anyway, I just want that in there. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing one of the beautiful things of Measure Quick that I like so much is that you see that startup information. Like, you put your probes on, you start the stupid thing up, and you get to watch it learn or figure out where it wants to run. And you can see that on a 7-minute run cycle, that system is nowhere near to steady operation. I've had systems that I've checked on a mild temperature day this spring that literally ran 0 superheat on a TXV for 10 minutes until the refrigerant got positioned. The subcooling will be in the right place sometimes, but the
Yeah.
superheat will sit at 0 for 10 minutes and then give it another 5 minutes and the superheat starts coming up.
Yeah, and that's with pistons. It's awful. I mean,
Mhm.
it's really bad. I mean, you see a piston unit, if you think you're checking it in the first minute or two, you'd be like, why is the pressure back in R22 days?
Yep.
Why is the pressure 45 psi? This thing's leaking. It's like, let's just wait a minute.
Yep.
Like you come back in 3 minutes and that's 74. So it's like, oh, okay, all right. And then 5 minutes it changes and so on
Yeah.
and so on. There's a good point. Eric Kaiser says air conditioners don't remove humidity if they aren't running. Long run times mean greater humidity removal. So let's take that statement. Talking about your XV unit. Your XV unit is matching indoor and outside, not matching like AHRI, but matching like the capacity outside is being intelligently communicated with the blower capacity inside, what speed the blower is running.
Yep.
So when it's less capacity, the blower speed goes down. The Bosch, it's not doing that unless you fiddle with it. It's you have to tell it to do certain things.
Yep.
You have variable compressor speeds with the same blower speed, so the dehumidification capability is not the same. To me, there's two different types of treatment. It sounds like you agree with that, but see if you agree with this one. You have these machines that have, let's say it has a 3-ton coil. You run at a capacity of 30%, maybe 50%. You have that 3-ton coil. Now you have 18,000 BTUs of action theoretically going on. All of a sudden, the efficiency of that coil skyrockets and dehumidification capability plummets. To me, that would be the case. What do you think? It could run a long time and still dehumidify, but if it were running, let's say at full capacity constantly for that same period of time, there'd be way more dehumidification taking place.
Yeah.
Not that you can do that. It'd be cold. It'd be really cold.
Right. One thing that I saw when I had my, what was it called? It's now Sensi Predict. I can't think of what it was called before, but it was a monitor for amps, volts, thermostat signals, line temperatures, and air temperatures. One thing that I noticed, I was watching my brother's Bosch, which I put in, which he's in Ohio. It's a totally different market. He never complained about humidity, but I don't know if he should have. But I watched the amperage on the Bosch because that amp monitor with the Sensi Predict Comfort Guard, that's what it was back in the day. On the Comfort Guard, you could watch inrush and you'd see 1,000,000 amps theoretically on a standard system. But on the Bosch, you'd see a little startup amperage. And then over the run cycle, it would start off at like 3 or 4 amps. And then it would just creep up. And this is all 1.0, so they may have changed some of the algorithm in it. But it would literally start off low. And then depending on how long the thermostat called, it would gauge up until the call ended. And then, of course, it would shut down. And my thought process when I saw that was they're basically getting efficiency because they start at 9,000 BTUs regardless, because they have nothing to base it off of. There's no intelligence in the controls, the thermostat, or anything. You could have a literal stupid light switch on the wall to turn it on. And so they get their efficiency by starting at 9,000 BTUs and letting it run as long as it takes for that compressor to eventually ramp up and deliver enough BTUs to shut it off. But if you, like you said, if you start off with 9,000 BTUs on the condenser and a 3-ton evaporator, you've got nothing for humidity control. Like nothing.
Because the ratio of the suction pressure and just the relation between the dew point and the apparatus, it changes so much. But that's why we have the your I manifold guy, the delta on the evaporator. If it gets lower, it's more efficient. It also sucks at dehumidifying in a normal environment like we would be in. So that was my concern with it. I mean, the delta's bound to shrink, thus it would be worse at dehumidifying, and it overcomes that in many cases by being running a long time.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. What doesn't make sense to me is if the Bosch has, like Eric was saying, there's two different points, like the airflow. Let's say the airflow is, well, you can change it to a certain degree. There's 5 speed taps, I think, on the X13 motor. But even if you chose the lowest ones, that's 2 points at which it's going to deliver capacity based on those 2 airflow points. But your XV has, I don't know how many, but a lot more than that.
Oh, yeah.
So wouldn't the XV be a lot closer to matching what you need than the Bosch? I mean, the Bosch would be better than like a single stage unit.
Sure.
But nowhere near the XV.
Yeah.
That's how I imagine. I mean, I can't imagine the XV operating like my Bosch did the first summer.
Right.
That would
I mean,
suck.
you'd have to have a really horrific install for an XV to act like a Bosch. You'd have to really booger some things. You can still oversize variable capacity because so one of the things that I've done with my business is think backwards of what I've always seen happen. If you have a 3.5 ton system and you want 2-stage of variable capacity, you have to go for an even ton, 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
In every situation where I have taken a 1/2 ton unit and dropped it down, we have seen incredible comfort and efficiency for the customer. The only job where we went way aggressive, we actually dropped it a full ton, was a job where the customer wasn't able or willing to spend to fix ductwork that wouldn't fit a 3 ton to begin with. And we actually went from a 3 ton to a 2 ton. And the only drawback is that instead of using setbacks, which isn't really a drawback, instead of using setbacks, they have to maintain their evening temperature 24/7 because it can't overcome a hot house in the middle of the day in the evening. But if you set it at 70 degrees, it'll nail it all day long, but it can't come back from like a 78 degrees during the day down to 70 degrees in the afternoon. Because the XVs really are not designed to do that. They're literally designed, set it, forget it, and just let it modulate all day long.
That's interesting. That's like a whole nother conversation. I think now that we're having this conversation, I feel like we've talked about this exact thing before. Have we talked about this exact thing, or is it just me?
You'll have to go back to the archive. I don't have any idea.
I feel like we have.
I talked to a lot of people about a lot of similar things.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll wrap it up here in just a second. But it was an interesting conversation because there's a lot of guys that are saying that Bosch is working out for them, and I guess and Adam's saying HVAC overtime is saying about setting up the controller, and I tend to agree. Depending, I don't know what controller he's talking about. I missed that part of it. But if it's saying like I use the EWC as the brain in the controller, and it does okay for me now, so I mean that makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. And maybe I could have done that with the existing hardware that was in place. I don't know. I don't see that yet. I don't know about that. But yeah, it's possible.
I think you can manage it. And like I said, the ones that we've got in are under control. But that took a lot more afterthought than what a variable capacity. I mean, when I first heard about Bosch, I was like, this is awesome, because literally the equipment is 50% the price of my Train favorite XV.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally the condensers are half the price of an XV condenser. I was like, if this Bosch will do what an XV will do, I can sell this all day long. Well, it quickly didn't. And I'm like,
So are you straight up trained with everything you sell now?
No, we touch on a little Goodman every once in a while, some Ream Rude.
You were breaking up there for a second. I'm just kidding.
But
So
yes,
Goodman, Raymond,
Train is
Rude.
our primary.
Okay.
If I didn't keep it, I would start losing my meager first tier sales position.
First tier. That's nice. So you get to go to the meetings where you wear the masks, and I don't know. I just assume it's Illuminati stuff. That was a joke we had on. We had a live stream. I don't know, several months ago with Joe Shearer, myself, Eric Melee, and Dallas Grissom, Dizzy Dallas. And I said that if you're, that's quite a pair of old YouTube guys right
That's
there.
some OG with Dizzy.
Yeah, that's right. We were talking about that train dealers had to go to the Illuminati meetings where the Clintons go, and we're speculating, of course, but that's what I assume.
Well, tier 1 is barely even allowed in the building.
Oh, so tier 1 is the bottom; it's not the top. Oh, okay. So what's the top? How many tiers you got to go?
I have no idea. There's people that sell a whole ton more than we do.
So tier 1, you just get like an Ox box.
You get to say that you have a train account. That's about
it. All right. We should probably wrap it up. It's getting a little bit late here. It's 10. Well, it's a little bit late for older people. So I don't know what it is.
If anybody's still watching, I'm amazed.
If anyone's still watching, I don't know how many people are watching this gig. There's people chatting in there.
73 people.
That's 73. Well, I don't know. I have a bunch of accounts open. So, I mean, that's probably 20 or 30 of them. And then Ted has a bunch because he has a bunch of fake people that he harasses Joe Shearer with. And then Joe has a bunch. So, I mean, I don't think anyone's actually in here watching, but me and you and Ted maybe. Let's see, final parting words. Are you going to make any more videos, or is it just going to be the one a year that you got going?
At some point, I think I would like to try to bring back the Day in the Life series. But it is incredibly hard to decide to pick up the camera, which means then I have to sit in front of the laptop for hours and edit stuff, because you're not going to catch me doing vertical video very frequently.
Good grief. No, definitely not. Not this guy. For people who don't know, he won't do vertical video.
I was never Amish before, but I did give up the, Amish look.
Yeah, the mustache. When I saw you and you had the mustache, I was like, well, no more Amish stuff. That's fine. No more, like, was it Mennonites? Whatever you look like before.
Right.
I went to Virginia. I saw some of your people going down the road in the mountains near Appomattox.
Yep.
Okay. Well, yeah, we should probably wrap it up. Do you have any parting words of wisdom, or did you exhaust them all already?
The grass is not always greener.
That's nice.
Sometimes
that's a business one,
just
I guess.
More poop over there.
More poop. Different kind of poop. Different kind of animal. Yeah, the grass is not always greener. Get into business from being a technician. Here's my summary. I wouldn't go back to being a technician, but it ain't exactly easy being in business either. That sound about right? All right, Steven. Well, I'm gonna let you get back to living your life. I'm gonna talk to these people for a couple more minutes. I'm gonna head up there and see if my children are all in one piece still, because they're watching each other, and there's no telling. So
it's good to hang out, Zach.
Yeah, man, it's good to have you on the show, and I'll have you. It won't be 2 years. I can't believe it was 2 years since last time.
Well,
we'll do sooner than that, as long as you got it in. I know summer's coming, but we'll try to get one over the summer too. That sounds good.
Maybe.
We'll see. If you have the time, you're willing to return. That's what we'll say. Okay.
One last thing. I am and just did hope. Well, I just bought tickets to the 5th symposium for HVAC school. So
nice.
I'm planning to be in Clearmont, Florida, February 3rd through 5th in 2024. If anybody wants to try to get in on the tickets before they're gone there too.
Well, I don't like going anywhere like that most of the time, but it would be nice to, have dinner or something. That would be nice. But maybe I can just go to Florida, then just go back after dinner. Maybe that'll be what I do. My wife and my mother-in-law are in Orlando right now, believe it or not. Yeah. It's a long story. Okay. Well, meet Steven in Florida next year, you guys. He'll be there for the symposium with Brian O.R. and his loyal band of smart guys. A lot of them are in the audience here. A lot of those people in the audience have been to the symposium. So they will see you there, and I'll see you sooner than that over the summer, I reckon. This is my way of saying goodbye, Steven.
All righty, bud.
I'll see you later, man. Take it easy. Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yep. Good talk.
There goes old Steven. Old Steven, man. It's always fun. We had a good conversation tonight. I was going to do skill trade up, man, but I thought it was going really well. So we'll just do that next time. We'll do it next Saturday. Thank you, Hughes man. Hughes man, we just ramble here. I want to start earlier because I know you're streaming, but I can't physically start any earlier. And we keep rambling. So I apologize for that. I know your show was good too. And sorry that we kind of overlap. Anti-DIY says, who, Adam? I don't know who. Cooling with Krause is here, but not Allison Krause. It's a different person. Drinks more beer than Allison Krause, if you watch his videos. Michael Hamby, HVAC Overtime, thank you for dropping by. BPHC, Joshua Seaton, Clint Glasgow, thank you for being a channel member. You too can be a channel member by hitting that join button on your screen, supporting this channel. I'd appreciate it. And we need the grocery money. John Harrell, Mark Beezer, Joshua Seaton. Joshua, like I said, I got your email, man. We'll come on here and talk one day about, I forget what it is we're going to talk about. Someone want to talk about sales, but I think that was Sirasani that sent me a message about that. Mike Henderson, what's up? Thank you for the compliment. And all the guys decided to drop by. A lot of you guys just dropped by all in one clump, like you were organized. So thank you. Whoever organized a clump of educators to get here at the same time, I appreciate that. And if it wasn't organized, what a happy accident that turned out to be. Thank you so much. We're gonna get out of here. Let me see what I got. I don't think there's anything left that I need to do. We did the viewer photos. All we got left is an outro. On outro today, you get a couple outtakes from the fake news, and then you get a standard outro. So once the outtakes are done, you can turn off your computers and go to bed. Guys, I appreciate it. Thank you for dropping by, and I'll see you on the next one. Unfortunately, once we questioned the man, we realized that there probably wasn't a fiberglass tree on account that he was heavily under the use of. We found that there is a fiberglass tree. One man has gone. After having Joe Shearer, a famous HVAC tech and YouTube channel owner, on the show last week, we first heard about. Let's do it again. Joe Shearer, a famous YouTube HVAC technician and company owner. Joe Shearer, a famous YouTuber, company owner. Good night. All right, you diehard Shop Talk fans. I know we didn't get to do Skilled Trade Up tonight, and I appreciate anyone who stayed all the way to the end of the show. I appreciate that. So let's have a little bit of a giveaway, maybe a Shop Talk shirt. If you win the giveaway, make sure that you email me the size that you desire. I'll get the closest size to that I have, and just make sure that you email me. Okay, a lot of people have not emailed, and therefore I don't send anything. Because I don't have your email. There's a few things I have to send out. I haven't forgot about you guys. You guys are out there like, wasn't things supposed to be here by now? No, it's not been mailed yet, but it will be mailed this week. Oh crap, I hit the whole thing. It's getting late, guys. All right, let's do ourselves a giveaway. I can't see the whole screen anymore. Let me see if I can blow this thing up and get a little bit more of this screen. I bet I can. Let's see. Oh, time for a little bit of expando on the fly. All right, there we go. All right. Hopefully you guys can just about see this. This is the Nightbot. So just chat and you will appear on the screen and you will win something. And this is going to be very difficult on the fly, but I'm going to do it. Okay. So just chat here and you'll start appearing on the left side of the screen. And that way you will be eligible to win. So right now it's only 3 people. Just work HVAC, Mike Hamby and Susie Dunn. Make sure you are chatting. Okay. Make sure you're chatting. I don't know how many people are left. A lot of people probably clicked off, and I want to punish them by us, celebrating without them. And then hopefully they'll stay longer next time. Just kidding, guys. It's all right. All right, let's see. C Young, we got R134. What's going on? I heard a noise. Yeah, I hit the table with my leg. That's what happened. Derp. I don't know. What does derp mean? I don't know. Sounds like one of the things you say is like you hit your leg. Derp. Maybe that's it. Does it work? Free shirts, man. All right, here we're gonna go because I am ready to go on in there and chill out for a little while. Thanks again, guys, for staying to the whole end of the show. I appreciate it. We're gonna go ahead and roll those dice, and we're gonna see who wins. And I'm gonna roll it. And C Young HVACs. I need a shirt to cut the sleeves off of. I don't care what you do with the shirt. Whenever you get it, you can do whatever you want. So C Young HVAC, you won. And let's roll it one more time and give somebody else something. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Bam. BPHC up north. Both of you. Email me, HVACShopTalk@gmail.com. I will send you a shirt. Oh, crap. Let's do one more. One more shirt. I got a box full of shirts over there I didn't realize I had. Let's do one more and get out of here. And kabachow. Clint Glasgow. You've only won 500 million things. Here's one more thing for you, Clint. And email me, even if we know each other, like Clint, he's been around for a long time. Make sure you email me. So I have it. Because if I don't see it, HVACShopTalk@gmail.com, I do not remember because I won't be able to do all that stuff tonight. I used to do it all in one night, but I can't do that anymore. And just for the heck of it, here's one more. Mark Beezer, you win something. I'm going to get out of here. Everybody email me. I'll send you something. If I don't have enough shirts or whatever, I'll put something in there for you. I appreciate what y'all do. You guys watching the show. Let's see how screwed up this picture is. Oh, that's way off right there. Let's fix that. I appreciate all you guys and what you do and watching this show. I really do. So thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in to watch this show. I appreciate it. It means a lot to me. I really enjoy doing this. I want to take my time this week because I've been trying to get back to doing it the way it's supposed to be done, getting back to my old self, which has been a long time coming. And this week, I want to put a lot of effort into it. We didn't get to the skill trade up, but it's going to be really nice when we get to it, hopefully next week. Keep sending me emails about what you want to talk about. Send me emails about who you want to see on the show. It's real important that you take the time to do that so you can make sure we get the people and talk about what you want to hear about. Because that's what the show is about, having fun, telling stories, hanging out, but also learn a little bit of something that you need to learn and getting the right people in here to do that. So, yeah, it's an Oprah show now. You get a shirt, you get a shirt, you get a shirt. I don't watch Oprah, and I think it's stupid, but that's fine because that was an Oprah-like moment right there. I'm just kidding. Oprah's great. I don't know who Oprah is, but I'm out of here. Thank you so much. And I will see you all, and this is for real this time, on the next one. Unfortunately, once we questioned the man, we realized that there probably wasn't a fiberglass tree on account that he was heavily under the use of... We found that there is a fiberglass tree. One man has gone... After having Joe Shearer, a famous HVAC tech and YouTube channel owner, on the show last week, we first heard about... Let's do it again. Joe Shearer, a famous YouTube HVAC technician and company owner. Joe Shearer, a famous YouTuber, company owner. Good night.